The college football experience, week 5, DFS and Underdog Fantasy plays is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Yes, Underdog is hooking up new customers. Play just $5, get $50 in bonus funds when you sign up with our promo code TCESGPN. So do that and let it ride.
This is Brock Purdy from Iowa State, and you're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
Yes. Woo! Welcome to the college football experience. Week 5, DFS and Underdog plays for Friday, Saturday morning, Saturday night, and everything else. I don't know. YouTube.com/the college experience. Jump on over there, hit that like and subscribe button. You might see me decked out in my ECU gear, and I know I bet. Look, right after the show, I'm heading down to Greenville. Hit us up if you're in the area to catch the Black Knights of Army take on the East Carolina Pirates. And I know I'm on Army, but you know I'm ECU through and through. I see bullshit when I gotta call out the bullshit when I see it. And when I see ECU's cha offense, I'll be rooting for him, but I'll also be booing the shit out of that offense coordinator with every goddamn bubble screen. But this is our DFS show, and we will be talking Friday action. Friday's got a tremendous slate, 3 games, all Power 5 schools, depending on if you still value Oregon State as a Power 5 school. And then Saturday, maybe the best Saturday besides the final week of the season, perhaps. So excited to talk about all this. If you're wondering who the hell you're listening to, that's fair. My name is Colby Swinging Database Dan, aka Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
I'm probably drinking too much and celebrating too much and not sleeping. Would have killed a normal man, but no, that's gone. The medical advice I got from that was like being hit by lightning. Pretend it never happened and get on with your life.
I may or not have been trying to kill a fly for the past 20 minutes before. That's why I'm late. I think there was 2 of them, but I had the swatter. I even had some spray. Fucking trying to spray. So I think I'm already high in this confined room. Spraying a bunch of stuff. Might have got in my Waterloo. Shout out to Waterloo, Iowa. You been there, buddy?
Absolutely. I'm 30 minutes away from there.
There we go. I am joined by my co-host. You have heard him, on Sports Grid, on VSiN, and he has his Best Bet show on YouTube. Rob Donaldson. Give it up for the great Rob Donaldson. How are you, buddy?
Hey, man, I'm doing well. We're 2 sleeps away from Iowa, Indiana, and I'll be at that game. And yeah, to your point, fantastic slate of games this weekend. Great game tonight as well. And thank you for being an ethical host. You know, you're counting on the bullshit when you see it.
Yeah. Look, it's very rare that I fade ECU, but there's just times where it's needed. It happened in basketball a couple times over the years. I think it was it was Joe Dooley era. You might have heard me say it quite a bit. Shout out to Channing Brown in the chat. And by the way, shout out to you, buddy. I believe I shared this last night and shout out, I know you're an Iowa fan. You're going to be going to what I think is one of the better games this weekend, but also, you're taking your mother, right?
Yes. Yeah. My mom, for goodness, she was an Iowa student back in the 80s during Hayden Fry era. And she was obviously a big time Iowa football fan. We go to games a lot. Ever since then, and ever since she had me, and she's been bouncing around the country, she's had surgeries, bad health, just things that got in the way of her, reliving that Kinnick experience. And yeah, I figured, hey, it was her birthday last week. Let's buy her some tickets. Let's make sure it's accommodating with like the the outdoor club seating area where she doesn't have to walk down a lot of stairs. And yeah, we're going to see a fantastic game, I think.
That's fantastic, man. That's fantastic. And this fly landed on my shirt a second ago, but no, it really is. I retweeted that thing when I saw that. That's awesome of you, man. And happy birthday to her. And I hope she gets a great experience. And, but will she be ready to storm the field is the question. And as an Iowa fan, do you even storm if it's Indiana, even though they're 7.5 point favorites and number 11 in the nation?
Oh yeah. I mean, everybody's gonna be drinking since 6 a.m. So it's like one of those things where the intoxication hits a point at like 5:30 at night where you're thinking, yeah, just get me on the field.
and I'm sure she's down, right? You're gonna have you have a path planned if that happens.
So right now we're sitting in like the up, like almost like press box seating area. So it's like we would have to go down to the field level, and then find a way to have her hurdle over the bleacher seats. We'll have to talk about logistics once it comes to that point.
Well, when you get in there, you could maybe see a path that's better, I feel like. So, right. But yeah, fantastic stuff, man. And shout out to her. Happy birthday to Mrs. Donaldson, Miss Donaldson, whatever. Hope she's got many more experiences at Kinnick and many more birthdays. Well, this slate, we got the Friday slate, which I think it's a really good Friday night in a way. I think that's probably one of the better Friday nights we'll get all year. Uh-huh. And then Saturday is fucking loaded, man. I tend to think it's I had this kind of highlighted back in the off season when I was going through week by week. I tend to think it's sort of rivalry week, maybe the best week of the season. I know Halloween's good too, but what do you make of this week? It's pretty fucking fire, right?
Yeah, and there's so many like upset angles. Like if you're somebody that the body clock thing is going to be at play because the team's jumping over several time zones, you have that sort of upset angle at play. If you think, hey, there's certain home field advantages that are just different in college football. Well, hey, Husky Stadium, Kinnick Stadium, those are going to be at play. And heck,
the Arkansas too. Yeah.
Right. And so I think when you're looking at the board, there's just a lot of really great opportunities for some fantastic games. And I think Oregon Penn State is just inherently going to be a fantastic game. So yeah, I think we're going to come out of this week thinking we just watched the best week of the college football season.
Yeah. And shout out to you, by the way, with a great DFS play a week ago. I don't have I should have loaded up the numbers in front of me, but Eric McAllister, the former Boise State wideout who transferred to TCU. Oh my God. What was that final number? I mean, I feel it was like, what do you go for? He went like, it was double-digit catches, right?
Yeah, I believe it was 9 catches for like 284 yards and 3 touchdowns.
And he got robbed a touchdown.
Yes.
His foot is in bounds. They didn't even review it. Like right. He catches another like 40-yard touchdown in that game and he's in bounds. Unbelievable play there. Dude, my lineup was pretty decent. My Cortez Braham play was very good for Memphis, the wideout.
Yes.
My problem is, dude, this is why I hate doing a pregame show. Is because I wasn't paying attention to my DFS lineup. I'm sitting there talking about line movement, and I start Dr. Kavorian Barnes, who doesn't even play, and that was the reason why I didn't cash, because everyone else did pretty fucking good. So I'm like, damn it, man. But this week I'm going to be paying better attention, hopefully, because part of the things you wake up, I got my son. I normally cook him breakfast. We go get a coffee, so it's like you're occupied nonstop. Got to pay attention to the DFS. That's my bad. There. I let the world down. Let's get to it though. Friday we got 3 Power 5 games. Do you still consider Oregon State a Power 5?
They're not playing like it, but either is Purdue, right? There's like certain programs that I think kind of slot into that lower end of the Power 5, and it's debatable whether or not you want to consider them there, but I kind of do. It's
the Washington State Oregon State thing it hasn't talked about enough. That's like the saddest fucking shit that's happened, man.
I mean, think about it. There were coaches jumping ship from Wisconsin to go coach at Oregon State, right? Like they were synonymous with like, oh, this is kind of a lateral-ish move. Now it's like you're going down to Division II if you want to coach at Oregon State or transfer there.
Yeah, exactly. Shout out to Nick in the chat. Sharpest guys in the game. See you in Palo Alto for the sicko game of the week. Shout out to Nick. Nick's a great guy. He's he also hosts and is the play-by-play for some San Jose State football and basketball stuff. Nice. But hey, buddy, I know I was on hyping up San Jose State on the show. They're playoff contenders. Big game this week. You can bounce right back. You survived and advanced against Idaho. I lost money, but hey, we're wishing they still haven't played a Mountain West game. Let's not panic. All right, let's jump into Friday, but shout out to Nick tuning in, man. The Friday slate for DFS, to me, I'm curious if you went 2 quarterbacks. I think, I mean, I kind of revealed my hand last week. I normally like to go 2 quarterbacks. And in this one, so you got Florida State, Virginia. Castellanos is already kind of dinged up, right? So like he's going to play, I think, but Miami's on deck. You got Chandler Morris, who's in his like 30th year of college football, playing really well at Virginia so far this year. Yep. And then you got Sam Leavitt, Josh Hoover. Both those quarterbacks are fantastic in the TCU Arizona State game. And then Malik Murphy and Oregon State taking on Connor Wegman and the Houston Cougars. I went I just loaded. I thought long and hard about the Chandler Morris angle, but I think Tony White's a pretty good defensive coordinator. So I ended up just going pretty chalky here with the 2 best quarterbacks probably considered on the Friday slate, Josh Hoover and Sam Leavitt. I rostered them both. Leavitt's only 8,500 and Hoover's only 7,700. So I went with both of those. What was your approach quarterback wise? Did you only go with one or did you do 2? And if so, which ones did you do?
Yeah, so I did go with 2. I actually went with Josh Hoover and Malik Murphy for drastically different reasons. I think with Hoover, you're going to have a competitive game against Arizona State. I just kind of think that's going to be the tenor of that game. And last week with Baylor and Sawyer Robertson, I felt like they left hundreds of yards on the field with just bad errant throws. And if you're putting Josh Hoover in that same position, I think he's making those throws. And heck, even late in the game, Trigg for Baylor was just screaming up and down the field with late touchdowns. I think there's going to be some big plays to be had in that passing attack. And then Malik Murphy, that's just solely because I think they're going to be passing from the outset and continuing to pass once they're down by 20.
Students back on campus. Back on campus in Corvallis.
Students ain't saving this fucking team.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that it is, but at least maybe that will help a little bit. So, Rob, the chat is saying, yeah, it looked like you ate a taco pizza. Now, are you on board with taco pizza? I'm curious.
No, I think it's kind of something that's associated with Iowa that I don't know if it's actually like commonplace out here. I know there's Taco John's and I know there's Happy Joe's that have the taco pizza, but I've never been a connoisseur of either spot.
Gotcha. I can see myself shit hammered having a taco pizza, but I will say I just, not all the way on board with it sober. Okay. At the running back spot though, I went with a former Colorado Buffalo, and he's, if you ask, I believe Go Beavs is one of our fans that's in there, in our chat often. Shout out to him, but he's obviously hating this year, but he says the only guy with a pulse on our roster is Anthony Hankerson. You look at what Anthony Hankerson's done. He was one of the guys that left when Dion came in, but he leads the team, 65 rushes, 228 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3.5 yards a rush. This is a guy that ran for over 1,000 yards a season ago. I will say though that I would like for them to commit to him a little bit more. I think that's one of the issues with Oregon State is, so week 1 they gave him the ball 15 times. week 2, 25 times, week 3, 11, week 4, 14. The time you gave it to him 25 times, you had 136 yards. Just an idea. Just an idea. He's also though done pretty like he's not terrible out of the backfield as well. So I rostered Anthony Hankerson at a Boynton Beach there in Florida. Did you roster Anthony Hankerson?
I did not. And honestly, outside of Malik Murphy, I don't know if I want to be touching Oregon State a whole lot because there is a chance of just the morale being terrible, right? Like even if there is a student section, this is a team that I feel like is on the precipice of just flat out quitting. And the second that they do, that offense is going in the tank.
Well, and you build it in your scenario. They're passing because they're down so much, which makes sense of why you wouldn't want to play Hankerson. I, who bet Oregon State plus 14 with students back in, I think Houston's going to win by 10. So I think it's going to be a little bit of a game. So that was part of the logic there. So who'd you go with at the running back spot?
Yeah. So my highest price running back's actually Dean Connors.
Yes.
What a dog.
me and NC Nick for the past 2 years.
Yes.
When he was at Rice, that was like one of our favorite players in college football. And if you're not rostered Dean, it does not surprise me at all that he landed at Houston because of Willie Fritz. When I saw this transfer in the offseason, I was like, this is obviously Rice is in Houston. Houston's there. Okay. So that fits too. But I just thought like, this is a Willie Fritz player through and through. At 6,600, Dean Connors, the guy does everything too. Like there was one time I played him last year, dude, where, or maybe it was the year before, where he had like 12 catches in the game. So like unbelievable, kind of all around player.
Yeah. And it was kind of interesting. His big weeks last year, I kind of remember this vividly, but it aligned with like Ashton Jeanty going off and also Cam Scattaboo going off. And so he kind of got overshadowed as being the running back at Rice doing numbers. And yeah, I wouldn't want to ever find myself in the hole against that type of player. And I do think that if the game flows the way I think it's going to flow, Dean's going to have like 20 plus touches and I'm all aboard on that.
Yeah. And NC Nick jumping in the chat right here. He's the man. Also, speaking of Houston, he says, load up on Stephon Johnson ladder for him. Yeah. Stephon Johnson, actually, I might have to alter my lineup now, but he did ball out. Yeah. I'm going to have to think about that one once, once we go into this, but yeah. So Dean Connors, that's a second running. I went with 3 running backs. Did you go with 2 or 3?
I went with 3. And one of them was actually in that Arizona State TCU game that we talked about. And I went with Raleigh Brown. I watched him last week and holy cow, I feel like Arizona State is one of those kind of weird running back factories where not everybody like goes on to have crazy success in the NFL, but there's a lot of good backs that come out of that program. He kind of feels like that another one that's going to be there. And yeah, he's been fantastic. And I took him at 6,200 is what the number I got at.
I like that one. He's a USC transfer and he has popped, a few times where he has I'd like to see him consistently put it together week by week. He certainly has moments where you look at you like, who the fuck is that?
Yeah.
I went on since we know Dr. Kavorian Barnes is out.
Mm-hmm.
Now it was tricky to me because you got if you watch the TCU SMU game a week ago, once Barnes didn't play, they went with Jeremy Payne, which is essentially who I got at 4,700, got the bulk of the carries, but he was not their leading rusher. So I'm counting on the bulk of the carries again. Their leading rusher was actually, I think he was a freshman. Quickly loading it up right now. I believe it was Trent Battle. Actually, no, he's a senior, so way off there. But Trent Battle actually had because he broke a big one. But I'm gonna just count on the volume. With Payne at 4,700, but you are playing this is a little bit of a gamble here because Battle did get, I think, 7 carries. I think Payne got like 12. So, yeah, I'm just going with the volume play, but I think there's value in both because they're both incredibly cheap. TCU, because they can spread it out so well, the home run threat for a run, as you saw in the North Carolina game when Kavoria Barnes had like an 80-yard touchdown or 70, whatever it was. The home run shot is there. So I went there with that. Shout out to Hoover in the chat, giving us $10. I appreciate everything you guys do. Thank you, brother. So wait, you have one more bet. Oh no, you went with Raleigh Brown. Okay. Then wide receiver wise, NC Nick, if he's, he got burned on this guy week 1, I believe. This is another guy that, in similar vein as Dean Connors, he was in the state of Texas with Willie Fritz in Houston, and he left for TCU, and he's a former USC transfer as well. That is Joseph Manjack. Now he's not my most expensive wideout, but at 4,800, I just want parts of this TCU offense. I know that he's the new guy, so I feel like he's building up the chemistry with Hoover, but let's not forget that he had over 100 yards receiving in the Abilene Christian game last week. Only 3 for 15, but he did score a touchdown. But I just think as the season continues on, he's the one guy that's to me developing the chemistry. So it makes sense that he hasn't really exploded on the scene yet. But I do think, especially knowing that the game plan will be after a game like that from McAllister, I think the game plan will be like, we got to shut McAllister down. So I think that opens up opportunities for Manjack and another receiver, which I'll play in a second. But curious, what'd you do at the wide receiver spot?
Yeah, so I'm going back to McAllister, and to your point, it is a little bit weary when you're coming off of a massive game like that because defenses shift their focus a little bit, and all of a sudden maybe that guy gets kind of like neutralized in the favor of somebody else. But I think from a touchdown standpoint, and the reason why I liked Eric McAllister last weekend was just the touchdown opportunities that I felt like he was getting targeted with in the red zone, and that was prevalent again when they got down to that side of the field. Because of his size, because of the way he can separate, I think he's a guy that can be open against anybody, let alone a team like Arizona State that I don't think is overly great at that position at corner. So, yeah, I went with Eric McAllister. I think another touchdown is definitely due. And, 6,800, I felt like that was a reasonable price on a Friday.
Yeah. No, I mean, he's still undervalued. He's still undervalued. I know NC Nick's Stephon Johnson makes a lot of sense too, but I might have to turn in 2 lineups. Cause I went with the other guy, is staying in that game. TCU, obviously they run the Briles offense there. And if you watched week 1 against North Carolina, Jonathan Dwyer, the former Idaho State Bengal, had a big game there in Chapel Hill. He went for 9 for 136 and a touchdown. Against Abilene Christian, he was 5 for 89 and a touchdown. Last week, just 3 for 32 in the Iron Skillet. I at 6,300, I think he's undervalued, and I loaded up there on Jonathan Dwyer. But what did you say McAllister's price was? 68.
Yep, 6,800.
I don't have that type of money, but it is interesting to think like, man, if you could move around a couple guys, I have like $100 left over. But Jonathan Dwyer, my play. Who'd you go with as your second wideout?
Yeah, so actually, I kind of had 2 guys who were in the very similar tier bracket to the Malik Murphy pick. I did stick with that Oregon State game, and let me just back out here because I just removed his name. But I went with Walker from Oregon State. Yep. And I think mostly just because of the target share opportunity that I think is going to be there. And if the game does flow the way I think it's going to flow, we could see like 40 pass attempts from Oregon State and Houston, the way that they've been playing early. And I kind of looking at that Colorado game, even when they're up, their possessions are fast. And so this is going to be one of those games. It doesn't feel like Oregon State just never has the ball and they're trailing by 20. They can be trailing by 20, but feel like they always have the ball. And that's kind of, I think, a good recipe for those kind of receiving yards and those passing yards.
Yeah, he has a shit ton of targets too. This is a guy he's a senior. He 9 for 136 against Cal, 7 for 99 against Fresno State, 7 for 67 against Texas Tech. Now he did miss the game, the Civil War. So maybe monitor that, but I have him as well at 6,100. He's just, and those are the catches. But if you actually look at the target, it's even more ridiculous. So you got to give that's my whole roster. So give out, what do you have? One more wideout?
Yep. I went with Harris from Virginia, and I think if Virginia is going to stay in the game, it has to be through Chandler Morris in the passing attack. And to your point, I don't know if Virginia is going to be in the game. Like, it could be a total flatline performance from them. Like there is that sort of scenario that I could see playing out. But if there is going to be any semblance throughout the game from Virginia, it's going to come through the air. And I kind of wanted, again, that touchdown scoring opportunity, even if it comes in garbage time.
I think that game's going to be a game personally, but
I think so too.
Yeah. So I think that'll be a good, and Virginia's offense been very impressive so far. All right, folks. That's our DFS slate for Friday. Now I will say for Underdog Fantasy, which we'll get to, I did load up on, who did I load up on? Someone earlier.
I'll tell you what I did. I went lower on Katin Hauser passing yards.
Yes, I think that's a smart play because Army bleeds the fuck out of the clock. Those numbers, by the way, 274.5 passing yards. Like, look, Hauser can move the ball at times, especially with that gimmick ass offense. But Army, you're going to have limited possessions in that game. So I do like that play for tonight, lower than or under than 274.5 passing yards. Did you pair that with anybody in this specific game tonight?
No, but if they gave me the opportunity to bet on Mike Wright to score a touchdown, I think eventually what every single desperate head coach does is they change the quarterback spot. And even with Katin Hauser, I don't think he's the problem at ECU, but eventually he might just be kind of the victim of circumstance. And they're going to throw in a guy who is a veteran, good runner. And if he could score a touchdown and sort of that market, I would love to take a stab there.
You know what, man? If they had, I wish they had something on him because they used him in, I think it was the Campbell game and I think it was the NC State game. They used him as the slot in motion where they gave it to him, and in a couple of instances he ran, but it was going to be a pass, but he ended up running. So it does make you think that he's a guy that could, whether he comes in as a full-on starting quarterback or as the quarterback or just kind of the hatchet guy. That's a good angle. To me, one that I just think we should be playing is Thomas Castellanos higher than a half rushing yard, and this is juiced a little bit too. I think at 155. That's Friday's game, obviously Florida State, Virginia, but in that offense, the way they run the ball, the only thing that scares me is with Miami on deck, do you do a game plan where you run him less because he was injured last week against Kent State? He got dinged up. So
that was actually my angle on taking his under or lower on rush yards of 45.5, because is a guy who's kind of dealing with injuries with a bigger game on deck. Are they like putting the reins on him? Like, hey, dude, do not throw it away. Like, do not make the play downfield.
I think Virginia's too decent of a team though. Like, if this was Virginia from the past couple of years, I might agree. I think that team they went out and spent and brought in a lot of talent. I think this is like the most talented Virginia team in a while. So I think you might have to. I don't think you might be afforded the luxury of just saying, hey, don't be you and just drop back and pass, because I also think that's a blueprint to lose the game. If you're telling me like Castellanos is just sitting back there at Neil O'Donnell style and just throwing the ball, I think Virginia wins that fucking game. What do you think?
And that might be an angle on Virginia first half money line, right, rather than full game, because if the mindset is, hey, let's protect our guys and just win a winnable game, well, all of a sudden that whole mindset's going to flip if you're down at half or down early in the game.
100%, man. And you know what? Speaking of that, if you want to pair if you think he can, I know the chat's talking about Gavin Sawchuk, the former Oklahoma running back that's now at Florida State, 43 rushing yards there. That one's logical too. Virginia's defense is the one thing that concerns me with them potentially being a live dog, is I think Florida State will be able to get what they want on the ground or really offensively. So that's an interesting one to pair if you don't believe that Castellanos can get. See, my thing is, even if they limit the carries right around the goal line, Castellanos, let's be honest, he's not super accurate as a passer. So I think around the inside in the red zone, you still want to run him. I think that's your advantage. There's like, but another one that's interesting to me in that specific game is Cam Ross, the James Madison transfer that's at Virginia. He went for 7 for 124 and a touchdown against Coastal. 5 for 40 against NC State, but then bounced back against Stanford. 7 catches, 88 yards. He didn't play in the William & Mary game, but this is a guy that I think his first off, I know he only has 1 touchdown in the season, but I like the shot at, I think there's going to be a lot of scoring in this game. So higher than a half score on Cam Ross, I think is one worth it, but 52.5 receiving yards. You look at it, he didn't play the FCS game. So 2 of the 3 games he's had higher than that number. And the one game he did in NC State was on the road, 5 for 40, and the guy still had 10 targets. So like I would take a shot on Cam Ross from Newark, Delaware Delaware in the in Underdog Fantasy. You got anything else for Friday night Underdog Fantasy?
I do not. Just the Castellanos lower on rush yards that I went with, and actually I lied. I do. Looking at Hoover in that game, over or higher rather than 22.5 completions. Again, there was a lot of throws that I think Sawyer Robinson left on the table last week, and if we're just talking about opportunity to air the ball out in a competitive game, I think Hoover's going to have it on Friday.
Yeah, that's the best game, dude. That game's going to be both quarterbacks are really good. Yeah. All right, let's jump into Saturday slate. But before we do that, folks, I want to let you know that the college football experience DFS style is brought to you by MyBookie.ag. Yes, MyBookie is your place to bet on football and everything else. Their prop builder is second to none, and their motto is bet on anything, anywhere, anytime. You can easily deposit, get lightning fast payouts using crypto. Head on over to MyBookie.ag, and when you do, use our promo code TCESGPN for 100% bet back bonus up to $500 for new customers. That's MyBookie.ag, promo code TCESGPN. We're also brought to you by NoVig. Yes, NoVig is America's #1 sports prediction market. And since NoVig is an exchange, you're getting some of the best prices in the market. And NoVig's available in 35 different states. Download the NoVig app and get $50 when you spend $5 if you use the promo code SGPN. Get in on the action with NoVig, promo code SGPN. All right, we are back. Hoover, am I really on Army tonight? Well, I'll be rooting for ECU. I got my Pirate shirt on, but I'm no fucking moron. ECU is 2-10 against option schools outright. That is since Skip Holtz has left ECU, and all of those are Navy and Army. They did not play Paul Johnson's Georgia Tech. They did not play Troy Calhoun's Air Force. What's up, man?
I will say, if you want that little silver lining hope, Army this year is 0-2 against Air Raid.
That is true. But here's the thing. The Tarleton State game, they run Air Raid. I was shocked. They did not throw the ball much. They actually ran. They only threw, like, their quarterback's good, Victor Gabalis, and they only threw for like 130 or something, or 140, something like that. And they ran the ball. Tarleton, I think, is shifting their identity some. I think they're still Air Raid, but they're going full spread and stuff offensive when you look at it, but they've kind of been a power rushing team thus far this season. Yeah. But yeah, that's a good point though. Very good point. North Texas is full on Air Raid, and they did, they do throw the ball, but, so when it comes to Saturday day, the noon slate was probably my favorite to mess with. I went, or I guess the day slate, they call it, right? The day slate. I went with, so I don't know where you're at with the Ole Miss game, LSU. I think Ole Miss's defense, strong performance against Tulane. but I kind of think that was more about Tulane than it is Ole Miss, because I watched the Georgia State game, I watched the Kentucky game, I watched the Arkansas game, and I don't know that this defense is good. Now, to Pete Golding's credit, for whatever reason, whether it's Tulane or whether the defense is just getting better in Oxford, I think this is going to be a breakthrough game for LSU's offense. So Garrett Nussmeier at 8,800 was one that I wanted coming into the day. So I rostered him, and I did go with the 2 quarterback system. I'll get to that in a second. But did you roster Garrett Nussmeier? And if not, then who was your high price quarterback?
I didn't roster a single player in Ole Miss LSU because that game I feel like has the potential of just being 2 offenses shitting the bed. Like I love the hype around Chambliss. I think he looks legit, but we don't really know how legitimate somebody is until they go up against that team that it's for real, right? And LSU's defense is for real. We'll see how that ends up playing out just from a game flow standpoint. But my high price quarterback was actually Marcel Reed. I feel like John Mateer, now knowing what we know, there's a reason why some of the throws maybe that he attempted weren't, or why they weren't really coming in abundance on the back end of that game when it was competitive, right? And I think Marcel Reed, the way that he's been playing, the way that he's been running the ball, I think he could go absolutely off against an Auburn team that I don't think has an identity on that side of the ball right now.
I was high on him this season. I know some people were skeptics, but I think he fits the Colin Klein offense perfectly. As
yes,
he's averaging over 5 yards a rush on the ground, and they're committing to him a decent amount on the ground. Yep. He threw for 360 against Notre Dame. I know right now Notre Dame's defense, everyone's saying it's terrible, and maybe it is, or maybe he's very good and he just just that's just what he does. I don't mind that play at all. And I also think that what's a very tough second end to the back-to-back road there for the Auburn Tigers. I paired Nussmeier with and really both lineups, the Friday night and Saturday night lineup, I have $100 left, but I almost rostered Jalen Daniels, but then I realized that Brendan Sorsby was available and he's a lot cheaper. So I was like, I think he's kind of underrated. Now I don't know if Cincinnati wins this game. Personally, I picked Kansas on the show last night, but I still think Kansas's defense is not great. So it gives you opportunity for a lot of yards. And when you look at what Sorsby's done, even last year, I think he's a good quarterback. I think it's the other problems around the football team that's the issue. You look at his numbers in each game. I won't even bring up the Northwestern State game where he went 15 of 15 because they're so bad. 15 of 15, 5 touchdowns. That's what I should lead off with because I'm a fucking genius. He was 15 of 15, 5 touchdowns. No, but I'll go to the a lot of games last year they were able to move the ball, and look back, he struggled passing in that Nebraska game. Well, they didn't even commit to passing that much, but he had 96 yards rushing and two touchdowns on the ground. Once again, dual threat quarterback, kind of an underrated dual threat quarterback, because I think you normally look at it and like Jalen Daniels, can run the ball. Taylen Green, triple service academy quarterbacks, they can run the ball. Sorsby is one that I think is kind of forgotten that he runs more than you think. So I went with Brendan Sorsby against a shaky Kansas defense. Did you roster 2 quarterbacks? And if so, who was your second quarterback?
Yeah, you went with Nussmeier. I went with Altmaier. And I think Illinois just in general this week is a good bounce back opportunity because kind of what we were talking about with Oregon State and just like the flow of a game. I think once you get punched in the mouth and that you're losing, it's like the morale and the actual execution snap by snap goes way drastically down. And coming off a 63-10 blowout performance, I think it's a good buyback spot on an Illinois offense that I think can really, really hum against the right kind of team.
No, I mean, especially knowing the history of not only USC, but all these teams that come east.
Yeah.
All these teams that come east have some of them gotten really destroyed. Yeah, I don't mind that play, especially knowing I expect Bielema to light a fire under their ass. Like after that, how embarrassing that game was. Holy shit. I still can't believe that was the final score. Like I thought Indiana was probably going to win the game, but I didn't think it was. I thought it'd be by 3.
Yeah, Sig did not give a fuck.
Yeah.
He said, "Yep, keep scoring."
And he's been talking shit afterwards. So him and Bielema, you can tell, must not be. There must be some old animosity or something. I don't. Maybe Sig was at Alabama one of those years, and I know Bielema might have been at Arkansas then. I don't know. I'm trying to think like when did they cross paths where he would be this bothered by him? Maybe the media days. He took the last bagel. That piece of shit. I said it was my bagel, and I pick up this phone call, and Bielema walks right in, and he's taking my fucking bagel. What were you gonna say?
No. So when Bielema was at Iowa, there were a lot of unsubstantiated rumors about him being like flirtatious with with recruits' parents, and like a lot of things that are kind of scumbaggy, greasy stuff. And I think that is his personality still to this day. And Cignetti kind of feels like a more kind of buttoned up analytics football nerd. So I don't think that they did kind of like gel. It would be like Bill Belichick and Lane Kiffin getting in a room.
Yeah. It's probably like, I don't respect this pile of shit over here.
Yeah.
That's a good point. So at the running back spot, I'm going to keep you in that Cincinnati game. If you go back and really, I would say go back to the Nebraska, obviously the Northwestern game. It's hard to take anything away from that. But Tawee Walker from Vegas, senior running back there for the Bearcats. I know he's only 24 attempts for 151 yards and 1 touchdown. He was kind of dinged up early, but this is a guy I expect them to get more into the mix, as he had 2 touchdowns last week. No, it was against Northwestern State, but he's averaging over 6 yards a rush. And if you followed any of Satterfield's teams, it's weird. They're not power rushing by any means, but they are successful running the ball. All their teams, like all of his teams, even at Louisville. So I went with Tawee Walker against a shaky Kansas rush defense at 6,600. That is, I believe, is that my highest price running back? Yeah. I only went with 2 running backs in this lineup. How many running backs you go with, and who's your highest priced?
Yeah, so I went with 3 different running backs, and my highest price running back was actually Jamal Haynes for Georgia Tech. The Wake Forest offense is scoring points. I think actually to almost like the non-factor of Robbie Ashford, but that Wake Forest defense is terrible. And when I was watching Hollywood Smothers or just run roughshod over that team, I was like, okay, if NC State's bad offensive line and it's a good offense, but bad offensive line, if they're chunking off 10, 15 yards per carry, what is a dual threat offense of Haynes King and Jamal Haynes going to do to the edge against Wake Forest in this game? I think if Georgia Tech takes the demanding lead, like they could, I think Jamal Haynes is going to get a lot of touches. And regardless, I think Haynes is going to have a really solid day and potentially a scoring opportunity.
Yeah, no. And I took, let me just look at this here. I believe I took, so I know I'm going to be tipping my hand. We're going to talk Underdog Fantasy in a second here, but his prop on or his stat projection on Underdog Fantasy is 20.5 receiving yards. Now, what makes Jamal Haynes so good is the guy's electric in the open field, but also they throw a lot of screens to him. They even do like jet sweeps to him and stuff, where it counts as a reception, or just a quick little shuffle. Yeah. But you look at if you take away the Gardner-Webb game where he didn't play much, he had only 1 catch for 8 yards in that game. Against Colorado, 1 catch, 27 yards. Against Clemson, 4 for 36 with a 27-yard completion. Against Temple, 4 for 39. He's kind of, especially knowing that they lost Singleton to Auburn and their receiving room is not as good as a year ago. I think he's one of like their main points of like, besides giving him the rock on the ground. Yeah. I think they want to get him in the pass game. So 20.5 receiving yards, Underdog Fantasy. I'm all over the higher in that, because here's another thing: is he catches the ball, there's a great shot he's going to get more than 20 in each game. Look at this: against Colorado, he had a 27-yard catch. Against Clemson, 27-yard catch. Against Temple, 34-yard catch. So like if he catches it, he's that electric where I feel like you're probably going to get over to 20.5 on just even one reception. So I like that as well. And I do like the DFS play despite me not playing him. I probably should turn in another lineup where I do. I will take you to the likes of Seattle, Washington, where I don't know. See, I took Washington plus the 7.5 last night on the pick show. Didn't bet this game. CJ Donaldson. The reason why I didn't bet this game is because I think it is very possible here that Washington's defense is not that good. Right. I think Washington's offense is good, which is why I think it's worth taking the 7.5. Right. But I just think the defense, judging by the Colorado State game and the Washington State game, I could see Ohio State having a lot of success with them. And when you look at CJ Donaldson, who went for 19 for 67 and a score against Texas, since then, he hasn't gotten that many carries. But I mean, they played Grambling in Ohio, so I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to deduce from that. On the road, to me, I would want to trust my seniors, my experience, especially this is a freshman quarterback, or I'm sorry, technically I guess a sophomore, his first ever road start. So the game plan to me, if I was Ryan Day, would be like, hey, let's be very conservative with throwing the ball. Let's load up the rushing attack and see if we can have success against Washington first, and that can maybe open up our passing attack for Julian Sayin and those awesome wideouts. And CJ Donaldson at 5,800, I think might be a little undervalued. So I went with CJ Donaldson as the second running back. Did you roster? Did you say 3 running backs or 2?
Yep, I rostered 3, and my next most expensive one was Wayman Jordan for USC. I think sometimes what we need to kind of really think about is, all right, what's an offensive approach? What's a team's approach when you're going on the road? And to your point, CJ Donaldson, that's why you're rostering him at a good number right there, or good valuation. I think Wayman Jordan, in terms of a team going from SoCal all the way over to Illinois, heck, your quarterback might not be feeling right, going into the game. And so why not give it to your high efficiency running back and a guy who's getting a lot of goal line touches? And also, Wayman Jordan's been fantastic. Both running backs for USC have been great, which kind of makes this almost a little bit scary. But I went with Wayman Jordan, and I feel pretty good about that. And I got him at 6,400.
Well, you got to think the Illini defense didn't look very good too, so there might be some value there. Give me your third running back, because I did not. I only went with 2 in this lineup.
Yeah, so this one was one that I think you guys have been a fan of over the past couple of years, but Fluff Bothwell.
Oh, my boy.
Yeah. And man, he is such a fantastic back and such a great playmaker. And against the Tennessee team that I think is actually looking really shaky defensively, if Mississippi State is going to stay in this ball game, they've got to put the ball in their best players' hands. They have a lot of athleticism at the wide receiver spots now, which makes us a little bit more kind of like nerve-wracking, but I do think Bothwell's going to get his touches, and just one touch can end up being an 84-yard touchdown.
Yeah. No, I'll be honest. I had him in my lineup and I took him out last second, but so I'm going to turn in a lineup with him in there because he's been too kind to us over the years. I like that play, and obviously I'm on Mississippi State, so I like that. Wide out wise, so I loaded up four wideouts, and the logic was I just like the games, and my most expensive was a guy you rostered last week, and he didn't. I mean, he did all right, 3 for 88 and a touchdown. So A&M's pass defense was not great last year. I do think it's improved, but I still think there might be value with Auburn's receiving core, and Cam Coleman at 6,900. This is a guy that if you exclude the Baylor game, he's pretty much had a score or a solid receiving game every week minus the Baylor game. So I took a shot on him at 6,900. He is my most expensive wideout, but I really like my wideouts. Did you go back to the well with Cam Coleman?
I did not. My most expensive wide receiver actually didn't feel like I needed to overspend in the wide receiver category because there was a lot of good buy low options in my opinion. But I'm actually going to go with a guy that you rostered last week in Omega Blake. I think when you are looking at Arkansas and just how they can be competitive in this game, it's going to be through the air and it's going to be through kind of big plays. I remember last year at home when they got absolutely trounced by LSU, even though they lost by, or it might have been actually Ole Miss, but they were down by like 24 late and they were still chucking the ball downfield. I kind of expect under Petrino, they're going to go out on their sword. And yeah, I think Omega Blake is a big time playmaker. And I kind of want a piece of that.
Yeah, maybe that's, what was his price?
Got him at 6,000.
Yeah, I mean, he might be a better option than Cam Coleman, but I don't know. I feel like Coleman, I got to think about that one, but I like that. I like that play.
And I don't think Cam Coleman's bad either, because if you think about like the Michigan trajectory of going on the road in Norman, which is a tough place to play, and then how they performed just 2 weeks removed at Nebraska, night and day difference. It felt like the passing attack kind of loosens up after you get that road game under your belt. It could absolutely be the case with Auburn this weekend, and it wouldn't be shocking if A&M, drops a game that they're not supposed to.
Yeah, no, I mean, historically, this is what they do, right? My second highest price wideout. I am taking you back to the LSU. I stacked him with Nussmeier at the quarterback spot here, but and a lot of it has to do with just I think I think Ole Miss's defense is trash. So I went with Aaron Anderson. This guy had 6 catches for 99 yards against Clemson. He didn't play much in the SELA game. Had 75 yards against Florida, and this is by far the worst defense, in my opinion, that they will have played in the Power 5 level. You look back a year ago in this specific game, he had 81 yards and a touchdown. So Aaron Anderson is my play. The wide pretty much like the best wideout for LSU. He leads the team in receptions and yards, and believe it or not, has not gotten in the red zone yet. So this is why it's almost like this has got to happen at some point here if he's getting all the receptions and all the yards. So Aaron Anderson is my play there for the Tigers. Go Tigers! Who you going with as your second wideout?
Yeah, and kind of going back to my Luke Altmaier point of buying into the Illinois offense after that bludgeoning where they just didn't perform well, and I think it's one of those games you scrap. I went with Hank Beatty. Prior to the Indiana game, he was putting up some serious numbers. He was getting double-digit targets every single game, and I think if any scripted offense is going to work, he's going to be part of it in the early goings against USC. And I also don't know how good USC actually is from that side of the ball standpoint.
100%. Like they still got to prove it to us, especially when, Maryland had a good offensive game against USC a year ago. Maryland, when they come east, they've struggled in a lot of those games, defending these Big Ten offenses that historically, I guess you would say they weren't known for electric offenses, but okay. I like that play. And another thing is knowing that Illinois, their secondary is dinged up. Mm-hmm. There's a shot where there's a shootout here. I think did CJ say he liked the over last night? I think he said that. There's a shot that. What's that?
I'm right there with him. Like, I think USC has too many offensive weapons at one. It's just not like they're airing the ball out and that's how they're putting up crazy numbers. Like they're doing it on the ground efficiently, and their O-line is probably one of the more dominant ones that I watch. And I'm an Iowa fan. Like technically we're the highest graded PFF offensive line. I can see it, but USC is moving people up there. And I think, that's going to be a high scoring competitive affair rather than a slugfest that I think Illinois probably wants.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. I like it. So I have two more wideouts. I think you only got one. But my next guy, I'm going back to Lawrence, former Alabama Crimson Tide wideout, Emmanuel Henderson. This guy leads the team with yardage and receptions. And if you take away the Missouri game where he only had 3 for 29, of course I rostered him that week. He dropped like a 60-yard touchdown. Still bitter about that. But if you look at the other games, remember he transferred in, so building that chemistry with Jalen Daniels, he had 6 for 130 the week prior to the Missouri game, and then last week 6 for 38. But they were up so much. I think game script was a big factor in that. I think this game against Cincinnati will kind of be a shootout. So I expect this to be a lot of just both defenses I don't trust. So I think both teams will score a lot of points here. So Emmanuel Henderson for Kansas will be my play. And he's only 4,700. So I think it's a real good bargain price there that you're getting him at. Who's your final wideout?
I went with Colin Lacey, Louisville, and Miller Moss. I think predictably, if you were listening to my Twitter in the offseason, because he was rumored to Iowa, hated that idea. But he's not the greatest quarterback. He's kind of like a point guard, passer, facilitator type dude who just sits back in the pocket and does his thing. But against Pitt, I mean, if West Virginia can move the ball through the air on you, anybody can, because that team sucks. And I'm sorry, Mac, but that offense is atrocious. And so, Colin Lacey, when you're looking at target share, when you're looking at the red zone percentage of target share, I think he's one of the ones who could come away with almost like a double-digit touchdown, or not double-digit, 2-touchdown game in this one.
Yeah, no. I think there might be value on Utah. I just need to know that Dan Pierre's playing. So I'm with you. I am with you that I think, it's going to be a tough year, I think, in Morgantown, but I do think they got the right guy. They'll figure it out long term, but it's just
year 2.
This is what happens. Someone's got to explain to me why, so my final wideout's 4,100, and I think he's a great value play, and that is Jordan Faison there. Why is he so undervalued when you look at the 3 game? Now, I guess the A&M game where he only had 2 for 17, but look, Miami game, he scores a touchdown, gets 5 catches. Against Purdue, 5 for 105 and a touchdown. I think the more that CJ Carr develops, the more that he's going. I actually think he's like their best wideout. So it's like, the more he develops, the more I think they're going to connect more and more, and this will be kind of his security blanket to a certain extent. And Arkansas's pass defense, Arkansas's defense in general, major ass. So I think 4,100. I just don't understand why he's. Why is he so? Is it because they had a bye week? They only played 3 games. I don't know, but I think that's a play that everyone should load up on, because I definitely think he'll have 5 catches in this game at least. So
I think kind of to the point of these Illinois players, being valued at like 5,000, 6,200 for Altmaier. I think you're buying in on a guy who has a ton of talent and who has proven to be performing, and just kind of that dip that right now in the market is reflecting that price. Yeah.
So those are our lineups for the day slate. Look, I Underdog Fantasy. I don't know if you threw in the lineup or you got something cooking for Underdog, but I mentioned the Jamal Haynes higher than 20.5 receiving yards. I also, in that same vein, this is what I did. I got a little crazy. I took Jamal Haynes higher than 20.5 receiving yards. I took Haynes King higher than a half rushing receiving touchdown. And a lot of that has to do with, he's like their goal line option. Jamal Haynes, to his credit, like he's a great player, but they don't like to pound the rock to him inside the 10-yard line. They go Haynes King QB power most times, I feel like. And then I paired that with CJ Donaldson higher than a half rushing or receiving touchdown for Ohio State. And I paired that with Jonah Coleman in that same game higher than a half rushing or receiving touchdown. I think Jonah Coleman is one of the best running backs in the nation. So that was my play. It got a little crazy. You throw $50 there. You're gonna make some good cash. I'll say that. Yeah, I mean my payout sitting there over $500. So did you do anything on Underdog for the Saturday slate?
Yeah. So during the day, I had a couple plays that were like it was a 2-player entry, higher or lower, and I went to the Fluff Bothwell wagon with rush plus receiving yards higher than 57.5. I think he could do that on one play. So
he can. There's someone that's watched him. Yes.
So
he
like
really
that was a free one. That was a token for me. Like I was like, all right, yeah, gonna include that. And then the other one that I went with was Julian Sayin lower than 257 pass yards.
First ever road start.
Right. Like this could be a straight up disaster. Like who knows? Yeah. And they have such a good ground game, or at least talent at their running back position, that they might just take the ball out of his hands and say, hey, we're going to win it a different way.
That's got to be the game plan, right? That's got to be the game plan, is like, okay, maybe at some point if let the run open up the pass, but you got to think going that far to that little of an environment.
And I've seen Ohio State with these types of like scares in the past, and they don't feel the pressure to, throw the ball if they're down by 10 points or down by 7 points. So if Washington gets on the board first, they're going to continue with kind of where the efficient plays are being made. Yeah,
I agree. All right, folks, look, before we get to the Saturday night slate, I want to tell you that Underdog Fantasy, or we are brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. That's why we just gave out those plays. It's a great place to play fantasy pick'em, where you could win up to 500 times the amount of money you enter. Simply pick higher or lower on your fair player stat projections, and you can cash. They have it for a ton of different sports as well. And get this, Underdog's got a brand new offer for new customers. Play just $5, get $50 in bonus funds when you sign up with our promo code TCESGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Yes, Rhythm is off to a great start in college football and the NFL. And Rhythm has just introduced a leaderboard with weekly cash prizes just for tracking your bets in the app. Track 5 bets of the same type from any model that you build, and you could win $1,000. So hop on over to Rhythm, all right, and use our promo code SGPN25 when you download the Rhythm app for 25% off the first month. That's RITHMM. All right, download Rhythm and use that promo code SGPN25. All right, we are back, and I had a lot of fun with the Saturday night slate, because this is like I'm going all in on just to tip my hand a little bit here. I got Virginia Tech beating the Pussy Pack at Carter Finley. Okay. Dude, I think Philip Montgomery got a raw deal at Tulsa. I thought he was a good coach. I think there's a shot that if Philip Montgomery, because remember, Virginia Tech had not lost an ACC game yet. Mm-hmm. So I think there's a shot he could be pretty good in the ACC, because I think he's a major upgrade at head coach. This guy took Tulsa to the AAC championship, just a few years ago when they had Xavier Collins and everybody. Like I think there's a world where, I just expect them to make a bowl now, because they did it early in the year, but I also think that could also backfire for the hardcore Hokie fans. But I think Montgomery's a good coach, so I mean, I don't think it'll backfire too much. But I just think if I see people dreaming about all these hires, and I'm like, well, what if he goes 8-4 or 7-5 or something? Then it kind of puts you in a predicament, because he was not there when they went. He was not their head coach when they were 0-3. But yeah, I'm all over that, and that's why Kyron Drones at 6,200 is my play against an NC State defense that is really DJ Elliott higher, not looking great so far as defensive coordinator of the Pussy Pack, because you saw Caden Hauser have success specifically in the second half against the Pussy Pack. You saw, really everyone they played have had success in the air. I would say the only game that really stood out where they made changes at the half was the Wake Forest game that I was at, where NC State really did lock down Robbie Ashford. But Ashford, his MO has been yeah. So I think there's value on Drones at 6,200. This guy threw for 300 yards, over 300 yards last week. And I just expect Philip Montgomery to continue to, and he's got 4 rushing touchdowns on the season. So Philip, if you watched him at Tulsa, Philip Montgomery, he will run your quarterbacks in the red zone too. So, that's my quarterback. I did go with 2 quarterbacks, and I do have a higher price one. So I went kind of out of tune there, but did you roster Drones? And if not, who'd you roster at the quarterback spot?
Yeah, I rostered Kyron Drones, and I think it's hilarious how fast narratives flip, right? Because coming into the season, it was like, oh, Kyron Drones might be good enough to win the Heisman Trophy. And now it's like, oh, this team sucks. Everything about them sucks. And it almost reminds me of Thomas Castellanos at BC last year, where they're like, just get out of here. Let's play the backup, blah, blah, blah. And then goes to Florida State and immediately just puts a number on Bama. Like, and yeah, to your point, NC State, holy cow, their defense is horrific. Like, anybody can score on that team. If Robbie Ashford can do what he did in that first half, just scoring at will, 80-yard chunks, I'm pretty sure that Kyron Drones can pick up 80 yards with his legs and do some damage through the air.
Yeah, I think when Montgomery, I think like when, there were talk that like a bunch of Hokies might transfer and Drones could have maybe, I understand the quarterback value. Maybe he'd make a lot of money. But then the flip side of that was I was like, Montgomery's quarterbacks at Tulsa put up major numbers. So I was like, maybe this can work out for him. Maybe this is what you do want, is a guy that knows offensive football to put you in the best spot now that he's the head coach, and maybe you'll have that tape moving forward, and you could end up on an NFL roster, or who knows, like you can make a good living in the CFL, so like, that was the logic there. Wait, so did you do 2 quarterbacks?
I did. So my more expensive one was Ty Simpson. And I don't really necessarily love Ty Simpson in general, but I think when he's being priced at 7,900 and you're looking for a high scoring affair, one, we saw this Georgia Alabama game last year and that was bonker city. And now all of a sudden coming off Tennessee, Georgia, I don't know where Georgia's defense has kind of fallen off to, right? Like, they have had a lot of losses to the NFL over the last 3 seasons. And with the transfer portal almost taking away your depth and not having just that circumventing revolving door of NFL talent, I think all of a sudden now Georgia's finding themselves in a spot where they're winning offensively and not winning with just a premium elite level defenses a year after year. So yeah, I'm going to take a shot with Ty Simpson in a second road start and kind of see what happens there. Yeah,
no, I like it. I like it. I'm on Bama to win that game outright. So yeah, I like that. The chat's asking, when's the last time I locked up NC State? Well, for football, I actually did cash on last year against. I locked up the game against North Carolina because they've had Carolina's number. I might do it again this year based on how Carolina looks so far. So that would be the one. And basketball, I do think I locked it up once or twice last season. I thought I locked them up once or twice in basketball.
Again, ethical Colby.
Yeah, look, there's still the pussy pack, but yeah, look, I'll break rules sometimes. It feels good to break rules. My second quarterback, and this guy is 9K. And let me tell you, I don't think Florida Atlantic has a good defense. I understand the hang up on you could have a little bit of a hangover with Memphis just knocking off Arkansas at home in the Liberty Bowl, and I'm sure people are buying you cocktails. Life is just better, right? You're just feeling good about life. But I just think there's a major gap between both these teams. You look at the numbers right now. How about FAU's defense has been pretty bad. I mean, if you're giving up, Maryland kind of called off the Dogs. They were up 39-0, 39-7 was the final. But FIU scores 38 on you. I think Memphis is going to go for 40 or 50. Brendon Lewis, by the way, the former Colorado quarterback. Yeah, dude. I mean, how about he ran for over 100 yards against Arkansas, and this is kind of becoming a thing against Georgia State. He had 70 against Chattanooga. He had 81. He's got 4 rushing touchdowns, and then I think throwing the ball he'll be fine as well. So Brendon Lewis, I paid up for him, but the only thing that bothers me is game script. I'd like, there is a world where Memphis just fucks them up and they're up 28-0 and the backup quarterback is in. And
there's a $9,000 valuation too on top of the game script possibility is why like I stayed off ultimately.
Yeah. And see Nick, There is a photo out there. Some say it's AI. With me in an NC State Pussy Pack shirt. So wait, did you rostered? No, you have one more quarterback, right?
Nope, just Ty Simpson, and then I went with Kyron Drones.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. At the running back spot, I'm just gonna why don't you lead off there? Who you went with at your running back spot?
Yeah, so let me give you kind of a sleeper one because I kind of have almost some inside knowledge on Iowa State's program just because of networking over the years and people who have ended up in like good spots with the program. And Abu Sama is a really talented back and one of those kind of jitterbug types that I think has almost been getting phased out for Carson Hansen because he's more of that prototypical size back who can also catch out of the backfield. And so it's like, all right, where do we find playing time for Abu Sama? Well, I think coming off of a sluggish performance last week, they are going to start to kind of do a lot of two back sets. And Abu Sama, I think, is going to end up just getting force fed in this game a little bit to almost make him happy in an extent. So I went with Abu Sama at a price that was only $4,800. And I think he could end up with over 60 yards and a tutty in this game.
You know what? I like it. I'll be honest. I was entertaining the thought of Carson Hansen, but I was like, nah, because Sama gets carries. And there's certain games where Sama looks way better than Hansen. Like there's certain ones. There's certain games where Hansen looks good too. But it's like, it made me stay away off. I don't think you play Hansen because his carries could always get stolen. But Sama has the value where it still makes sense to play him. I only did 2 running backs, by the way, in this set here, but my most expensive, I will go back to the game that terrifies me on Game Script because that's who I am and that's who I care about. But have you Sutton Smith, who I rostered last week, by the way, 12 for 147 yards on the ground, 12.3 yards a rush and a touchdown. The guy is very electric. They need to get him the ball more. Out of Powder Springs, Georgia there. At 7,100 against a terrible FAU defense, I will take my shots. This is one where I feel like even if they bench Brendon Lewis, they might keep Sutton Smith in the game longer. So, yeah. 7,100 Sutton Smith at the running back spot. How many running backs did you roster, by the way?
I rostered 3 and Sutton Smith was one of them for the exact reasons you aligned. I think game script is going to favor him. I think early in the game, when you're talking about the scripted stuff that could lead to explosive touchdowns, he's probably the guy that's getting engineered and geared up to get those. And then the third running back that I went with was another kind of bargain bin shopping piece, but listen, I think Colorado State is a very weird team because they have names on their offense, but they're a bad general offense. And Jay Norvell is supposed to be the guy who's to fix the offense. So it's very weird that we're in this spot.
I think Lou Holtz has something to say about that.
Well, I don't got man cold, but they're counting down.
Anyway, continue. I'm sorry.
No, you are good. And yeah, so now it's like, all right, what do we even do with Colorado State? Do we just avoid them in general? Well, I think when you're looking at the touches and just where the offense actually is with that team, it's Lloyd Avant out of the backfield. And he's a dude who killed us on our UTSA bet because he was busting off chunks on the ground. And he was also the one they threw to in the 2-point conversion that went out of bounds.
Yeah, the 2-point conversion that they went for, folks in Fort Collins are still saying,
well, I don't get man cold, but they're counting down 7.
If you didn't catch that game, that was about the worst beat. You were covering majority of the game, so I think everyone who bet on that game or anyone that's a Colorado State fan, we're saying, the fuck is that? Yeah. Look, they're playing Wazoo. Wazoo's defense, even though they look decent for 3 quarters, but holy fuck. Between they have given up a lot of points the past 2 football games. So there is some there's a great chance this is like a smash play. I like it, man. So I only went with 2 running backs. So wait, you've gone through all 3 now?
So
no, because you have Sutton Smith, right? You have one more, right? Oh no, okay.
Yep.
I'm taking a shot on someone 3,900.
Ooh.
Philip Montgomery. He played this kid, and I can only think that
He's got a vision.
well, I'm curious. Let me see. Did he transfer in from Tulsa? I'm not sure, but I know he's from Oklahoma City. Well, Philip Montgomery was at Tulsa, remember? So maybe he had familiarity with him from the high school scene there. But you look back last week, Marcellus Hawkins, a running back for Virginia Tech, had 13 rushes, 79 yards on the ground. Also got 27 yards receiving. I think there might be he might have found this guy. I know Terrion Stewart is a Bowling Green transfer that was projected to start. He's also, I believe, questionable for this game. But I think they found something with Hawkins, and I don't remember if I don't think he was at Virginia Tech. I think he transferred in. I'm just trying to remember where the hell he transferred in from. But Central Missouri. Okay, but I'm wondering if Montgomery, the reason why he's there, because Montgomery came in, and I'm wondering if he recruited him in high school because Montgomery he's a senior. So 5 years ago, Montgomery was the head coach at Tulsa. Less than 5 years ago. Shit, it was like 3 years ago. So maybe that's why he knew he could get a decent running back there. At 3,900 though, he kind of popped. I watched that Wofford game because I lost money on it. But yeah, 3,900. I think you might have it. NC State's defense. We talked about it. They're terrible. They're a terrible defense. So I think there's opportunity for yardage here. And I think the price is just right. What's that?
I think you nailed that one because obviously Virginia Tech has only played like one competitive game all year because they got blown out twice and then they blew out Wofford. And right out the gate against South Carolina, when they were in that game for the majority of it, he got 15 carries. And I think when you're talking about an offensive game plan, you see it in game one, what they were scheming up all offseason, and that just doesn't go away after 4 games. Like, you're going to make tweaks, but I think Marcellus Hawkins could be in store for like 15 touches, and we might get a touchdown out of him too. I like that play. Yeah.
Leads the team in rushing, and shit, I think he's like the 4th leading receiver receptions wise on the team as well. So let's load up on Marcel Hawkins there. Shout out to Daquan the Great. Daquan, we got to get you on soon, brother, on this exact show. Giving us $10. Vandy to the playoffs. Pavia plays QB the way the game was meant to be played. Amen.
Yeah.
It's crazy that I have to find highlights, or when I see highlights of him blocking, and I'm like, hey, a quarterback decided to play football today. Crazy concept. We're on the same page, Daquan. Receiver wise, who was your top wideout, man?
Yeah, so this is where I actually last slate, the day slate, I didn't go heavy on wide receiver, but I loaded up on Ryan Williams here. I think again, when you were looking at, his breakout onto the scene game last season, it was against Georgia when they were scoring, 21 points in 2 seconds. And I think Ryan Williams just being a big part of that, having that almost feed me factor of, hey, Alabama, you already have an L. Let's not make it 2 on the road here. If you don't scheme up things for your absolute star-studded best player, Kalen DeBoer, I don't know who he is anymore. And so, yeah, I think Ryan Williams is going to get a lot of touches, and I think he's going to get them early, and I think we're going to see a couple scores out of him here.
I like this because you're on Williams. I'm on Jeremy Bernard. In this same game,
I'm gonna be happy.
Yeah, we're gonna be bitching when the targets are going to the other guy, but Bernard is the senior, and I think Williams got all the hype now. Maybe Kirby Smart is just like, dude, since Bernard's leading the team right now, maybe that is the point of emphasis. Maybe it's not Williams, but since Williams got him last year, and had a big game in that game. I don't know. Maybe it's going to be fascinating to see what will be the point of emphasis for Georgia's defense. Who will they try to lock down out of the 2? Yeah. But Bernard, go back to that Florida State game, 8 for 146. Didn't get in the end zone, but has gotten in the end zone 3 times since, and leads the team in receptions. So he was a little bit cheaper, right, at 7,200. Or was he cheaper? I'm trying to remember. I think he was because I thought I saw Williams.
I got him at 8,000 for
Williams. Yeah. So fascinating stuff there that we'll be watching in that game. Give me your second priced wide receiver.
Yep. So my second one was actually, I went to the Virginia Tech game again for the reasons we laid out, and I took Aiden Green. I think
I'm with you. I'm with you. Lock that thing up.
Yes. Let's go.
Continue.
No, absolutely. I think this is the perfect time to invest in two teams this weekend, in particular, Illinois and Virginia Tech, because one, great buy low spots. In the case of Virginia Tech, you're buying in the doldrums. And yeah, I think Kyron Drones is going to have the ability to really, really air it out this game. And Aiden Green's getting the targets. I want a piece of him.
I mean, he had like a 7-yard catch against UNLV, ODU. I just another one. I'm with you. The tricky thing is they have Donovan Green as well, the former Wake Forest wideout. Both I think are value plays this week. But Aiden Green, to me, the one that kind of has established himself week in, week out as the guy there in Blacksburg. I'm taking you back to my guy from Baltimore. It's 7th year. I look in today's college football. You look for those 7-year guys. Cortez Braham, the former Nevada Wolfpack wide receiver who transferred over with Brendon Lewis, and I was pretty sharp with him last week as he had 7 for 102 and a touchdown, and he did have like a 40-yard catch also called back, not because of him. I against FAU. I mean, the only thing that would bother me here is game script, which I'm loading up on Memphis here, but I just think someone's got to score these touchdowns. I think Memphis is going to score a lot of points against a shitty FAU defense. So I have Sutton Smith, I have Brendon Lewis, I have Braham. Somebody get me. Get me who else? I know they have one other wideout that I guess could score the ball for them, or their tight end. But did you roster Braham by chance, or if not, then who's another wideout you have?
I did not, but I'll tell you this: I went to the same game just on the other side, and I was looking at FAU, and because of the game script and them just being down, I think immediately in this game, this is still an offense that's kind of looked capable this season, I guess is the best way to put it. They are airing it out. They are moving the ball just in more so garbage time situations. And Jayshon Platt was somebody, when you're again looking at target share, this is probably the most ridiculous target share I think of all the receivers, that isn't putting up like crazy numbers because he's getting like 15 targets a game, but he's only averaging like 5 catches per game. So I do think, when you're talking about game script, if they're going to keep throwing him the ball,
that's a good side too, yeah. Dude. So the what's funny about that is Zach Kittley was once the OC at Houston Christian in the COVID year, when we were forced to get we got some really weird games to open up the season. Like it was like McNeese and Tarleton, I think, was one of the games we got, or Stephen F. Alston or something, was like the first primetime game that we got. And it was only one game. The other was Houston Christian taking on someone. But that season I loaded up, and they ended up all going to Western Kentucky the next year. I'm drawing a blank on the quarterback. He's in the NFL. The quarterback from Western Kentucky that was at Houston, Bailey Zappi, right? Exactly. So they had Jareth Stearns, who's in the CFL now for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers at the wide receiver spot. But they were getting destroyed. Their defense was terrible, Houston Christian, but they were putting up a shit ton of points. You might have the same situation here. Same coach. So same situation where maybe I think I got a top 10 finish or a top 5 finish DFS wise by stacking the receivers of Houston Christian as they played like North Texas or something. And they all had like 10 catches each as they lost by 50, but it was just like they were moving the fucking ball. So maybe that's a really, really, nice angle to do here, is take a bunch of FAU guys.
And I will say, when you're talking about DFS, talking about like the player angles, it's not like who looks the most impressive on the field, right? A lot of times it's just like who has the most opportunity to actually do anything. And I think the teams, when you're talking about a passing attack, you got to be competitive in a game, or you got to be down so far that you're not even thinking about running it. And I think both of those sort of angles could play out here.
Yeah, I think I should probably turn in the lineup with some FAU guys. NC Nick, he's beat me to the point here. Yeah. My final guy.
Let's go.
Look, if you're going up to Colorado, you got to have yourself. This guy should always, the fact he was at Air Force, I believe, transferred out. He went somewhere in the South for like a year. It was Georgia Southern, maybe. Southern Miss. So he went somewhere in the South for 1 year. It was a party foul because his name is Rocky Beers. He's back in the state of Colorado at Colorado State. And look, he played the first game of the season last week. 4 catches, 38 yards, and a tutty. Get the man the rock. So at 4,000, this is cold activated play right here. Tap the Rockies in Rocky Beers here. Yes, let's go. NC Nick, we are on the same page here. Did you roster Rocky Beer? You have one more guy left, right?
I do not. Nope. This is going to be the last one in the slate or this time window from you.
Oh, okay. There we go. That's a perfect way to set sail on week 5 is Rocky Beers. Just a great name. We need more good names. You go, but like, I don't know. I was, I'm a weird dude, Donaldson. I was sitting there looking at the rushing leaders in college football in like 1934 or something. And like every name was fucking cool as fuck. It was yeah. One guy's name was like Bomb Smith. I was like, this is great. I wonder how he got that name, but just great fucking names nonstop.
Not like the door. Like there's. I don't want to call anybody's name dorky, but there's a guy named Mobility, MOH Ability.
Yeah.
We've gotten off the reservation with some of these names rather than just making them cool.
Although General Booty was one I could really get behind. General Booty, who transferred out from ULM. I don't know where he's at right now. Did he just quit football? Things weren't going as right. Someone needs to get me in touch with General Booty. Oh, he got drafted by the Marlins. I didn't know he played baseball. Interesting.
Wait,
I didn't know he was drafted by the Marlins. Maybe that's a nice pivot. Yeah, football's not working out for me. So he's probably playing for like the Bakersfield Barracudas or some shit like that right now. But yeah. I mean, we need more good names is my point. All right. And I think we're on to something here. And it starts with Rocky Beers. It's easy to see that tide turn. Folks, that is our show. 1 hour and 30 minutes of solid DFS underdog fantasy content accomplished. Shout out to the great Rob Donaldson. Make sure you check out his YouTube page, folks. Rob Donaldson YouTube. He has the Rob's Best Bets show. He's also on VSiN and Sports Grid often. And so am I. So yeah, check out both of us. But give him a follow on Twitter at RobDFB. I'm on Twitter at TheColbyD. The College Football Experience is on Twitter at TCE on SGPN. YouTube.com/The College Experience. Hit that like and subscribe button. But guys, we're heading to Greenville right now. Me, Moneyline Mag. You're going out to G Vegas. You're gonna get rowdy at the Dowdy. Hit us up. We'll come by, buy you a beer. All right. Rob, anything else you want to say?
No, man. Great show. Really fantastic week of college football. And yeah, I'm ready for these games to start. It starts tonight.
Let's go. All right. Till next time, folks. This is the College Football Experience DFS style. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here.